This week, Kayleigh, Duncan, and Matt Kijowski are here. Kayleigh is an instructor in the department, former and current graduate student in the department as well, right? And Matt is also a former grad student in the department and current, and one of our staff members who takes care of our high performance computing needs, does a whole lot of programming for the department, and leads up our team of students that help with both IT and teaching and peer mentoring and all kinds of things like that. So he's got a bunch of different hats that he wears. Both of them are outstanding Python programmers, and the topic today is getting started with Python programming. When we finish with the 20, 30, whatever it is, minutes of talk, we'll open up for questions. We also have here today myself, Mike Raymer. I'm the associate chair of the department, and Lisa Morris is here, and she's our undergraduate program coordinator. And so if you've got questions also about, Wright State or applications or what's going to happen in the fall or other things, we can also handle those at the end as well. But we'll start with questions about the content Python, and then we'll go on to other things at the end.
Thanks for the great intro there, Mike. So just to give you guys kind of a quick layout of what to expect from this little session here, we're going to talk about Python kind of in general as what it is. It's not a snake. And then we're also going to do a quick show off of like how to write just a hello world in Python. And then Matt is going to kind of take over with some really cool demonstrations of kind of stuff that he's worked on with Python, as well as like quick demos and proof of why Python is such a cool utility to learn. We're going to keep it pretty laid back. So if you guys have questions as we go along, one, we'll certainly answer it at the end, but two, if it fits into the flow of the conversation, I'll take a pause, take a question, and work around it. So, what is Python? Python is one of the languages that you're going to learn as you go through your career at Wright State, or hopefully pick up, I should say. You've probably heard of Java or C as languages. Those are also great languages, but they are what's known as a compiled language. So when you write code in C or in Java, you then have to compile it into an actual program that you run. The big benefit of Python is that it's not compiled, so it's just interpreted. Think of that as the same as when you open up a web page. You're not downloading and running a program when you open up google.com. You're using web language, and that's being read out by your browser. And it's very simple language to kind of go and see as we'll call it like English text, right? When you go and look at web page code, it's the same thing with Python. When you type up Python, what you run is also, thank you, Matt, human readable. So we're going to start peeking at some stuff. And like I said, we'll keep it pretty informal. So if Kijowski has other things for me to add here, we'll go for it. Python's also great for templating things out. It's a pretty go-to language for, hey, I have an idea. I want to just kind of sketch up if this idea is going to be possible. Maybe Python isn't going to be the best language for the final version of it, but Python's really quick and easy to get into and start fidgeting with different pieces. There's also a giant community network and tons of other people who have created little libraries with components that might be useful for your project so that you're not creating everything from scratch, which can be very intimidating right off the bat when you're creating a project. Once you have that nice kind of developed idea, you'll hear a dog barking in the background occasionally. I apologize. Once you have that templated idea, then you can really start looking at what do I need to do to optimize it for the final product? Am I looking at running this on an Arduino? Am I looking at running it on some kind of smart TV, a phone app, whatever? Then you can start moving into the more specialty languages such as C or Java, where you're looking at optimizing for the devices that you're going to be running on in the end. Okay, so what I'm going to post into the chat is a GitHub page if you guys haven't heard of GitHub, it's kind of we'll call it magical. We're not going to dig into it today, but for our purposes, I have kind of a quick training up on there in some installation instructions and quick starter guides and some things to look at. And that's what we're going to talk about.
And for those of you tuning into this after the fact, it'd be down here in the video description somewhere.
Yes, please tell them where the chat is. Okay. I have two monitors up, so I'm going to kind of be looking at the camera and then piggybacking over to the other monitor. Oops. You know, once I can figure out how to use two monitors. Okay. So here we go. I'm not going to walk through how to install Python. I have a couple of instructions up here for if you're using Windows. If you're not using Windows, it's totally fine. You can still use Python. And that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's very easy to install just about everywhere, but I have a link up with the installation instructions for the version that we're using. All you're going to do is click on which operating system you're using. Are you using Windows? Are you using Linux? Are you using Mac? And it has instructions for any of that. I've just installed the most recent version of what we're going to use on my computer today. So you're welcome to go through, download what's called Anaconda Python and get that on your own system if you want to start fidgeting with stuff. There's two versions of Python. You'll most commonly hear the word Python, okay? The word Python is just a reference to a language. What we're going to use today is something that's called Anaconda Python. Yes, it's another snake name. Don't worry about that. The big thing that Anaconda Python provides for us is it has already compiled a whole bunch of libraries that are standard use by data scientists, by mathematicians, plotting projects, all the different tools that a lot of people really use very commonly. They're already built into this one giant package called Anaconda Python. You could choose to install just Python. We did not do that because then we would need to go through and individually install every little piece that we would need in addition to just regular Python. So we're going to be messing with Anaconda Python today. The installer is pretty straightforward. It's like a 3 gigabyte download, which is why I'm not walking us through it, because for some computers that does take a minute. What we're going to do is start off with just a couple different ways that you can do a hello world, the quintessential starting block for every language that you'll ever run into. So let's get up a couple things. What I want to show you first is how a lot of instructional guides are going to have Python show up. Give me just a second and you'll see another window. Boom. Okay. What I have opened in Windows is called the command prompt. If your install went correctly, what you should be able to do in this command prompt is just type the word Python. Except that mine's upset at me. Oh, another Windows 10 issue. Hang on.
Share my screen, Kayleigh.
You are welcome to bump me. I just needed to open up the other IDE, the other method.
The other one.
So this thing here is called the Anaconda prompt. There's totally a way to do it just through the command line. Because I just updated Windows 10, it's fidgeting with something that I'm not quite sure of. So we're going to just move on and use the regular Anaconda prompt. Where I am getting this, when you have successfully installed Python, the Anaconda version, in your start menu, you're going to get a drop-down folder of programs that have come that are now installed now that you've installed Anaconda Python. Okay. One of these is the Anaconda prompt. I like this thing what we can do now is type the word Python. What we're going to get, and Matt, tell me if my text is just way too small. Sometimes I have that issue. It's hard for me to see it. But what we can do now is see a couple of things. One, we can see what version we're running. And two, we can triple, quadruple check that it's the Anaconda version. This should not be important if you've never used Python before. If some of you have played with Python in the past and you're looking at getting a new version, then these are the kind of things you're going to want to just triple check before you get started. So I'm using Python 3.7 and it's from Anaconda. We are good to go here. Now let me show you how easy Python is. We want to write a hello world program, right? What we're going to do is type print hello world. And hit enter. And I have just echoed out hello world. It's as easy to get started as that. Now there's a whole slew of things that go into understanding how to write code, okay? We're not going to dive in too much, although I'm happy to answer specific questions. But if you look a little bit further down on the page, there's a chunk of links to different tutorials that kind of show you how to get started with Python in different ways. If you just want to learn how to program, the essentials, you can just go to python.org, or there's tons of different wonderful tutorials out there. Tutorials Point is one of my favorite ones, just a personal preference. You can also learn Python from very specific aspects of fields that you're interested in. So for example, there's a Python data science handbook. If you're interested in gathering a bunch of data and then analyzing that data in order to find out different tidbits of information. How many times have people Googled COVID over the last X number of hours, weeks, days, whatever you're trying to find? Those sorts of things can be found there. One of my favorite things to do is to just get into some silly projects. So there's actually a whole book on those, Impractical Python Projects, which is one of my favorite titles ever. But it's just a bunch of silly things that you can write up that do various little automations of silly stuff that you wouldn't think about. So you could write a Python script that outputs the position of the moon. You could write a Python script that checks if it's going to be too cloudy to use a telescope tonight. All those sorts of things. Okay. Big tangent there. Let me circle back. So you can use tutorials in order to actually figure out what's happening here. What print is it's known as a function. So because I know print is a function, I've already been using some other languages before. I know that anything that I'm going to put in that function needs to be wrapped in parentheses, right? These are all sorts of things that these tutorials are going to walk you through. Way number one that you can write things in Python is to use this interactive Python interpreter. So I'm typing things in. When I hit enter, the code is run. Okay. Matt is going to show you some other cool things that you can use, or this interactive feature is going to give you access to. The second thing that I want to do before we move into that is show you how to write code in a file and then run that file, that Python code. So I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to open up Notepad. I know. Nothing glorious about Notepad, except that she gets done the job we want to do. So we just wrote a successful piece of code, our print statement for Hello World. So I'm going to write that exact same thing into this Notepad file. Okay, that's it. What I'm now going to make sure that I do is save this as a Python file. All right. If I just hit save right now, it would be a text file. What we want to do is make sure this is going to be read as a code file, a Python file. So I'm going to give it an unhandy name like hello.py. I'm going to make sure it's on my desktop just because it's easy to find. And I'm going to hit save. Okay.
Kayleigh, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. I just have my volume low.
You're missing a quotation mark in there.
Oh, thank you for the live debugging support. That would have caused some headaches. Okay. All right, so now how do we run this guy? What we're going to do is open that prompt back up or open a new prompt. But what I can see here is I can see the file path that I am in right now. That might be a little bit deeper than we want to go today, but the important part of this path is it's telling me where I'm at in my system. So it would be the same thing as if I file explorer, wow, which is really big, hang on. My file explorer, and I went to this PC, my, wow, okay, C drive. I have a lot of programs installed on here. Users, Duncan. This is where I'm at right now, according to this black box. Where I want to be is on my desktop. So I'm going to use a command called change directory, cd, and I'm going to move onto my desktop. Now, if I follow along over here in this nice, pretty graphical interface, I can see all my files here. If I want to see all my files here in the black box, in Windows, I'm going to type dir. Now I can see all my files. One of those files is hello.py. That's the program that I want to run, right? So in order to run this code, I'm just going to type Python, which is a command. If I type Python and just hit enter right now, I'd go back into that interactive mode. But what I want to do is tell Python to run my code. So I'm going to do Python followed by the name of my file. And there we go. Hello world. Now, obviously, this is looking a little bit convoluted for daily use, maybe, right? What you're usually going to start using in your classes is some sort of IDE, some sort of programming environment. There's quite a few that we recommend. All of them have their own little way that you're going to push the button, that you're going to see the output, and all of that. Since that's not really what we're going to dive into today, you're welcome to ask for some recommendations. But for now, we're just going to segue into some of Matt's demonstrations on how to use Python as a really cool tool.
Well, I will dive right in, and I apologize for not having the desktop all set up quite right. And apparently I lose the channel, so hopefully Kayleigh can interrupt me if I go too crazy. But really, in the last 5, maybe 10 minutes, I really wanted to hammer home the kind of the cool factor of Python. Python is used everywhere in our program, mostly because it can tackle a lot of advanced tasks in a simple manner. So if you need to do some weird advanced things like capture and manipulate network packets, or play around with custom system security settings, or write your own custom bot, a lot of these things have libraries that are out there on easy to we actually kind of put one of the ones that I played with today in a good example of why I like Python so much. Starting at about 10:30 this morning, I decided that I was going to write a Python bot for our Discord server. This is something that some of the student workers that work with me had been playing around with, and I've kind of stayed out of it. So starting at 10 a.m. this morning with no knowledge about Discord APIs or anything, I decided, you know what, I'm going to see how hard it is to download and import the Discord Python stuff. And it was actually pretty simple. This how to make a Discord bot in Python, walk you through it, maybe 5 or 10 steps. You do have to understand kind of what Discord is coming into it. So for those of you not familiar, Discord is a pretty cool text, video, audio, chat program. Pro tip, we've been using the Discord server for our CS department for quite some time. It allows all of our students to get in touch with each other, to talk with faculty. We've got hundreds of students online and many more hundreds offline at any given time. And really, I thought it'd be kind of useful if we stop relying on public bots that are run by other people that we don't know what they're doing, and we write our own to kind of do some housekeeping, maybe add some people to roles or maybe do something really useful. So hopping back over to my private Discord server, I decided to write a little bit of code that, like Kayleigh was mentioning earlier, I'm going to execute with the Python command. Mine's called Python 3. You guys don't have to worry about that. It's the same as Python. I just like to call the numbered version. The download link that Kayleigh's provided is going to download Python version 3, and I just named mine differently. So, but ignoring that, I've got a piece of code here that I'm going to execute just like Kayleigh demonstrated for the Hello World. The cool thing about this code is it actually controls a Python. So here's my Python coordinate bot that I've just now added. And it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, honestly. Again, started at 10:30, it's been a few hours. But the cool thing about it is it works. So my Python code connects to my server and then listens for commands. And I've really only got 2 commands on here. I've got the Brooklyn Nine-Nine quote summons, so I can summon some random Brooklyn Nine-Nine quotes. And I've got a my personal favorite, the Who Is It command, which summons my dog. So that right there is Griff. You've probably heard him in the background. If someone says, "Hey Griff, who is it?" He barks. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Now, anyone who's in my private server is kind of familiar with this. You can summon Griff barks if they yell loud enough, "Who is it?" And in Discord, you can now summon Griff. So again, is it super practical? No. Did I learn how to write some cool Python in just a matter of hours? Yeah. I mean, it was really kind of simple. Follow this guide, get the basics of connecting to something, and then kind of take it away. And that's really where Python starts to be extremely useful. Being able to import a library that someone has spent many hours working on to give you like one-step commands to do something that seems really complex, but Python makes very simple. And I unfortunately minimized chat, but now I can see it. Does anyone have any questions on that?
If you guys have questions, please feel free to go ahead and start typing them into the chat. So couple of things. There are a million libraries for Python to do lots and lots of different things. So basic Python, of course, can just do what most computer languages can do. It can do math, it can print out things to the screen, it can write files so you can keep track of things, stuff like that. But then if I want to get advanced and create something like a game or something with a user interface, or I want to connect to Discord, or I want to go and gather a bunch of tweets and connect to Twitter, or you name it, I've got to bring in some kind of library. Is there any kind of directory somewhere where I can see all of the things that I could possibly pull into Python and all the things that it can do? Or do I just have to start Googling around for like Python and the things I want to do?
Well, I'm going to be honest. You kind of have to just Google around. There are a couple directories, and Mike, if you're trying to lead this in and I'm going off topic, I apologize. There are a couple common ones that are kind of Python package managers, so they manage a large list of useful libraries, I guess. As Kayleigh mentioned, we're a big fan of Anaconda Python. Anaconda Python is really just Python. It's just like any other Python implementation out there. The cool thing about Anaconda is it comes with a lot of libraries that are not normally installed by default. They just come pre-installed. But then on top of that, the other cool thing is it comes with a program called Conda, or just Conda, the end of Anaconda. And Conda is a manager of these libraries. You can use Conda to install different mathematics libraries, different other libraries, and it's just kind of useful. And the other one that's kind of a complement to Conda is pip, PIP. So Python pip works really well in the same manner. From the command line, you can install a lot of libraries that exist out there. But to find these out, you really kind of have to just Google around. So I kind of started my day off thinking, it'd be cool if I didn't just dust off one of my old projects, because I've got, cybersecurity, network manipulation projects, and I've got graduate program projects that are for that I used for some algorithms courses. And those are cool, but all of them started the same way. I kind of Googled around what is a good tool in Python and how do I install it? And most of the time it comes down to one of those two things, Conda or Pip. But my first step is always Google.
That makes sense. In fact, yeah, one of the nice things about Python is it's once you do find what you're looking for, it's almost always very easy to get it installed because they have very nice package managers. I happen to have Anaconda installed here on my Windows PC, and I thought it'd be worth pulling up for just a moment the Anaconda window just to show that it comes with a lot of nice handy things. Once you install the Windows version of Anaconda, you can pop over here and they have all kinds of environments that you can install for doing different things. So depending on whether you want to make a web app or something that runs on your local machine only, or does a lot of math or whatever, there's all kinds of different setups that you can quickly install in the manager. And it comes with a whole lot of different learning tools built in. So one of the first things I'd do if I was trying to figure out how to use Python is I'd install Anaconda and head over here to some of the tutorials that are right here built into the learning area here. And they walk you right through some of the beginning steps of getting to know how to do things, which is pretty nifty and fast.
The community tab, if you go down one, I was just poking through my thing too. The community one is also very useful. Like I said, Python is very popular. So this community tab kind of takes you to, we'll call it the approved list of help forums so that you can quickly and easily get some advice, see who else is working on some different stuff. And most of the times you have the same question somebody else has. So always ask your question or look and see what other people have given feedback for.
And I'll expand on that. So since we have, it looks like some graduate students here, I will mention that some of the research areas that are very active in the computer science department and computer engineering at Wright State are data science driven kind of research areas. So we do a lot of machine learning, we do a lot of artificial intelligence, we do a lot of pattern recognition. Python is the language of choice for those things. So if you're interested in coming in to data science, which a lot of incoming graduate students are because it's a very popular area right now, it's growing, there's a lot of job opportunities. The language of data science in the modern era is Python for several reasons. One is it's got an enormously powerful set of tools called scikit-learn. Hold on, I'll put it in the chat. SCI, like science, kit, learn. And scikit-learn has got a lot of machine learning models already built into it, ready to be trained and ready to operate on. It handles big arrays of numbers very easily and effectively. File input and output is a lot easier than it is in most compiled languages. It's also the host language for the two most popular packages of neural network model building tools, which is TensorFlow and PyTorch. TensorFlow can be interfaced with from other languages, but most people do it with Python. And PyTorch, you can tell from the name, is kind of specifically geared towards Python building of deep neural networks. And so it is, if you're interested in data science, machine learning, and that sort of thing, it is probably if you've got a few months, before you're coming and you're interested in picking up a new language, this is undoubtedly the language that I would recommend having some familiarity with before you come, because it is the language of the field right now. All right. Do we have any other questions? I would be happy to take, we'd be happy to take a few minutes and answer any other questions that you have. I'm seeing from Hiral and our other visitor that you don't have questions right now, Anmal. So I'll just a minute. If anyone's got any, feel free to type it in or unmute yourself and ask if you would like. So seeing that no one has any questions, we will then wrap it up. And I would like to say thank you very much to Kayleigh and Matt. We appreciate the talk. And for those of you who are visiting with us live, thanks for coming. And again, if you've got any questions about Right State or the program or follow-up stuff, you can address them to me at this email address, and I'll be happy to follow up with you. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a great week.